Yo, listen up, it's time for a tale about a podcast that'll leave you frail. Hard way wrestling coming at you raw, bringing the heat, breaking every law. They drop the truth, no holds barred, talking smack, getting you hyped up hard, calling out the fakes, exposing the lies. Hard way wrestling taken by surprise. Hard way wrestling coming to your city. Nothing but realness, nothing but grit. Going down a gauntlet, making them mark. Hard way wrestling, straight from the heart.
All right, welcome back to Hard Way Wrestling. It is our special edition, part 2 of Mr. McMahon. Scotty, Ricky joining me today, the crew, the backbone, the guys that get it done around here. The team, the A team, not the B team, the A team.
Does that make Scotty Bruce Pritchard and me John Laurinaitis?
No, that I was thinking that Scotty was B.A. Baracus and Ricky, you were Murdoch. No, I'm Murdoch.
No. Gotta be the other way around. I'm the crazy one. I'm Murdoch. He's Baracus, and you are Face. So
okay. I completely forgot most of their names for the A team, but that was a great show back in the day. Kind of got me drinking milk.
And it was a very underrated movie with Liam Neeson.
It was pretty good.
I love that. That to me, if anybody could do the original A Team justice, it was Liam Neeson. What's the guy from The Hangover? One of the main guys.
Bradley Cooper.
Yeah,
Cooper.
Yeah.
Cooper. And then the fighter dude. My brain's blanking on his name too. The guy played Baracus. Anyways,
yeah. Rampage Jackson.
Rampage. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very, very underrated version of the A Team, and to me, like, they did it justice. So I love it.
Well, when I think of Rotten Tomatoes, Scotty, I think of you. So we like your ratings. So all right, so we're back for part 2. We just had our Mr. McMahon episode 1. We covered the first 3 episodes of the Netflix documentary. Ricky, what did you think of the first 3? What did you take away from the first 3? Was there something you learned, you didn't know, you knew already? I mean, give me a little bit of feedback here.
I mean, I like these docuseries. They're great. The one thing that I kind of learned that I really didn't know was the Vince growing up story about how he was sexually abused by his mom and didn't meet his dad until he was 12. Okay, I find that a little weird, but I can also see that, you know, if he was abused the way he said he was, then that could be some factors to why he is demented the way he is and has turned out these days.
I would love to know more. That to me is the most intriguing part of this whole story. I would love to learn more about the early years. You know, there were stories of him being like a street fighter and a badass, and that is what I mean. Is it all Hulk Hogan talk? I mean, is it, you know, is it truth? Is it, you know? But, you know, we'll never know. So, Scotty, give me the same feedback. Give me what you thought about the first 3 episodes, and then we'll jump into this.
If Vince is smart, he would write a book on his life, like right before he decides he's going to croak, or around the time where it looks like he's going to croak.
I would.
That
would.
I
would buy the. I'd buy the audio version. I would probably buy the hard copy too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because
that would be a moneymaker.
Do you think that if he wrote, if Vince wrote a book, would tell all the Vince McMahon story, and we'll call, you know what we're gonna call the book? Pronouns, pal. If Vince writes a book, does it become one of the top 10 all-time books?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Because there are so many people out there that would want to know the real story.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, though, is not only would they want to know the real story, quote unquote, but they would want to take it and try to debunk it with anything that they could find, history wise, like, if they could find stuff from his old hometown or, just find ways of debunking it. So it would go to top 10 bestseller, like of all time bestseller, because and also out of the simple curiosity of the fact that there are a lot of wrestling fans out there, but just like the names Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, Vince McMahon is a name that people know, whether you're in the wrestling business or you're a wrestling fan or not. You know it because it's synonymous with a form of entertainment. Even if you don't watch it, you kind of know, hey, there's this guy that runs it. His name's Vince McMahon. And yeah, no, it would definitely be one of those things where the casual fan would pick it up. The person who's just like, hey, let's, I just want to know what he has to say about himself. Kind of would pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be amazing.
So give me some takeaways from the first three, Scotty.
Well, kind of like Ricky, the one thing that kind of I enjoyed the first three, but it was still like a lot of the information was stuff readily available that I already had heard. I had personally heard the whole, he never met his dad till he was 12 kind of deal. I had already known that, but it's more of, I wish they had delved into more of that backstory. That was the thing that disappointed me, is I wanted to know from his own chicken lips, his story and who he, like, what it was like growing up. And not really, like, I don't want you to tell me all the details of being beaten, but what it was like growing up as a child. And up to that age of 12, what was, who were you like up to that age of 12, and then who were you after that when you met your dad? That's, because if you think about it, a lot of his insecurities, picadillos, whatever you want to call them, the whole gamut of psychological issues he has go from those first 12 years and then everything after those first 12 years when he knows who his real dad is, because all that stuff kind of conglomerated together. He even talks about, never told my dad never talked about the time that he wasn't there, why he wasn't there, and he, never told me he loved me, never told me he was proud of me until that one time he told me he was like, never gave me a hug and all this kind of stuff. And
when you're saying it, I can see right now Vince is staring you in your eyes going, oh, boo-hoo, Scotty, and he knocks your papers out of your hand.
Yeah.
So all right, well, let's
slap
get
you with your spoon.
Let's get into it here. Episode number 4, titled Attitude, talks about how he molded himself after Jerry Graham.
Yes.
And honestly, I don't know much about Jerry Graham. I didn't get a chance to do any research on Jerry Graham. But Jerry Graham was very, what do you know about Jerry Graham, Scotty?
Well, the guy was an absolute nutcase.
Loved to flaunt his money, right? Loved to flaunt his money.
Flaunt his money, and not only that, but just he would break every rule in the book and get away with it. Kind of sound familiar to y'all?
Yeah, it really does.
So just for context, he was the kayfabe brother of not Billy Graham, Eddie Graham, who then later became the promoter and booker of Florida Territories, who was a very, very close friend of Vince Sr. And so Eddie and Jerry Graham did a lot of tours of the Northeast. That's how Vince Sr. knew them. But Jerry Graham was like, whereas Eddie was more the straight-laced guy. Like I said, Jerry flaunted his money, he flaunted his wealth, he did whatever he wanted to do, and nobody could tell him otherwise. There are stories of him going into people's houses in his later life, and like old wrestling friends, and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna just, you kind of come over and hang out for a day, and he wouldn't leave for almost 3 or 4 months. There are stories of him, like, the people walking in on him, taking a shower, and him just squatting there, shitting in the tub.
No. Okay.
Waffle stomper.
So we'll get into it. So Vince modeled himself after Jerry Graham. He loved Jerry Graham. He was taken by Jerry Graham. He thought he was the next biggest thing, and he loved Jerry Graham. Jerry Graham kind of took him also under his wing. jumped in his Cadillac or whatever he was driving at the time. And there's some stories there. But, at that point, that's where we kind of get the McMahon character. Like he was not known as Vince McMahon. He was known as Mr. McMahon, and the character. Attitude Era. Also, this is where Austin was born. Steve Austin was born. He was just. They kind of went a little bit of a backstory on Austin, and studying Steve Austin and whatever. He was WCW and ECW, and Vince took him under. Brought him in, thought he had potential, and then some stuff went down. Who was it that got hurt? Someone got hurt. So Austin ended up being in this match for King of the Ring, right? He was
no.
It was the
curtain call. Triple H
Triple
was
H
supposed to win it, and he fucked up.
Okay, so yeah, Triple H is being punished. He's pulled from the King of the Ring, or he loses at the King of the Ring. Did he wrestle at the King of the Ring?
I don't think he was in it.
He wasn't.
I think they pulled him.
Yeah. So Austin's opponent was Jake Roberts. Jake was Bible thumping at the time. He was a religious guy at the time, and that's where Austin 316 was born. He shot a promo, and there's been lots of stories on how this promo came about. He's people gave him the lines, but I think Austin said he came up with it on the fly, maybe.
Well, he heard Hayes gave him the earful beforehand, like this is what, because Jake had cut a
religious promo,
not just it was a pre-recorded promo.
Yeah.
So Michael Hayes gave him the lines, like, talking about all the scripture and stuff. And it kind of clicked in his head, because the one thing Austin always saw in a football game is the end zone, John 3:16, always written in the end zone.
Yep.
So he's like, you know what? I could take that and run with it. Austin 3:16. And he just said it that, in that promo. And they talked about it in the episode for a second. Like, it took off. The very next night, you see, I think it was Pritchard who said it, Austin 3:16 signs all in the crowd. Then very next night on Raw. So,
one of the highest lucrative shirts that WWE has had of all time.
Yep.
Is the Austin 316 shirt. I don't know about you guys. I had one.
Yeah. I didn't have
a few Austin shirts.
Yours had zeros on it though, didn't it, Scotty? Yours was Austin 316 00000.
I didn't have the black version, but I had an Austin 316 shirt that was gray with Stone Cold's face on it. So,
okay.
Yeah.
You had the knockoff. Did you buy the knockoff?
I don't even know where I got it. I think my mom.
Parking lot at the Civic Center or something. So, all right. So Austin was born there. This is also they asked a question. They asked if Vince is this Mr. McMahon character you, or
it definitely is him. He tries to say it's separate from.
Well, that was the funny part, because he said, "No, that's not me. I'm not the character." Then they cut to every wrestler, everybody. They all said, "Oh yeah, it's definitely Vince. It's definitely Vince." Which was
that was the other thing that got me very quickly, was just like, Vince is trying. And I mean, I here's the funny thing. We don't know how much Vince knew of what might come out in the near future. So did Vince agree to do this documentary to try to show a different side of him, because he knew that, oh my God, all this stuff is going to come out in pretty quick, and if it does, I'm going to look like a complete idiot. So let me try to babyface myself a little bit.
Well, no, this documentary was filmed years ago, right? This was like 2 or 3 years ago.
2021, I think.
They started filming this, and it was the pandemic happened, and it got stopped, and like there were some other things that slowed it down.
But here's what I'm saying though, is like, I think Vince might have kind of seen this as like again, he knows the skeletons in his own damn closet. So, he knew at some point, like, something like this might come out, and with it, I mean, he might have gotten some advanced word, or somebody told him that, you might be like the ND, the original, not the Janelle Grant one, because that didn't go till later on, but because it was the NDA in Janelle Grant's case was like 2022, if I remember correctly. But I don't know. It's just because he's talking about this whole thing, and then all the other people in that they interviewed said, yeah, this is Vince. When Vince is like saying, "Oh no, this isn't me. It's just a character I play." So that's why I'm just like, I got that impression. It's like Vince is trying to babyface himself, and the only reason I can think you want to do that is if something's about to drop at some point. Somewhere in the future, somebody is going to drop a piece of information that nobody wants. So he wants to get ahead of it and put this spin on himself. No, I'm not the Mr. McMahon character. This is something I just portray on television. And
well, he didn't do a very good job of.
He didn't.
No, he did a terrible job. As smart as Vince is, right? I mean, he's one of the better businessmen it's ever been. Like he's taken the product that was decent, and it's had its lots of ups and downs over the years. And he is like him or not like him, whether you think he's a piece of shit or whatever. He is the man who created wrestling in my eyes. Like he brought wrestling to the forefront in a lot of ways. And you would think that Vince would be smarter in his answers. Now, we don't know
power and money.
Yeah,
all that power and money got to his head and his ego.
We also don't know how this was edited either in the context of where things are said. So we got to keep that kind of stuff in mind. They might have asked him 2 or 3 questions and then they just took whatever answer they wanted from whatever. So, but Tony Atlas said, yeah, that's definitely Vince.
Yeah. But it's also his age, I think. That's something else that really, because this is before the mustache and all the really bad plastic surgery, but
just his dyed eyebrows.
Yeah. But his age is, I think, like, and I think in some respects he's kind of in a way like Hogan, where he said the lies so many times that now he kind of believes them.
Sure.
But because of his age as well, his memory is starting to go. So now the lies have become reality because he's not remembering what really went on back in the day. Because I mean, what, 78 right now? 77?
Yeah.
So I mean, and the chair shots to the head, and we'll get to the CT later, but chair shots to the head definitely haven't probably helped his memory.
I just think that he's probably more coherent than most 78-year-old men. And I'm sure he's probably forgotten more than he wants to admit. But there are a lot of things in his life he did not forget that he has suppressed, or he's holding back on, or whatever. So
absolutely.
Yeah, we're gonna move on. So McMahon says he is different than the actual character himself. Everybody and their brother says no. So also this time during the Attitude Era, Owen Hart passed away. Fell from the rafters during a pay-per-view. What pay-per-view was that? Do you remember?
Over the Edge 99.
Over the Edge, which is kind
Shock.
of
yeah. So Owen falls. Owen was supposed to do a spot where he was rappelling into the arena, and it was a faulty apparatus or whatever, and he fell and he died right there. Vince said that he wasn't sure at the time whether he should keep going with the show or not, but he decided to. The show must go on. Owen would want that for the show to go on. And
he said if it was him, he would want the show to go on if he was the one, or if it was Shane or something.
Yeah, but it wasn't him.
Yeah,
right. It's the family. So, even to this day, he doesn't regret moving on with the show. And I think at this point you would say, listen, hindsight being 2020, probably not the best idea at the time.
You know what? Watching this, that I'd never realized was Owen's blood on the ring apron.
Yeah, they wrestled the rest of the night with Owen's blood on.
I never realized that was his actual blood laying there.
Yeah. So right after, I guess right after they announced, Jerry and JR announced that Owen's passing, they cut to a promo with Jeff Jarrett and Deborah. Was it Deborah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And of course, Deborah is shook, right? She's
they were
crying.
all
She's
shook.
shook. Double J's shook, but he is talking about her puppies.
Yeah.
So it was probably the most awkward I've ever seen a promo and the timing of a promo. So yeah. Um, so Owen dies there. Um, one thing towards the end of this episode, uh, they had an outside investigation on the company or the apparatus that caused the death, and they ruled it an accident. They
That,
didn't.
that was interesting to me because the thing that Brett said was that, I mean, he was pissed about what had
Yeah,
happened. But when he gets the call from the cop and the cop's like, look, there's nothing criminal here. And Brett just like, all right, I'm going to let that go.
yeah.
You
He said he forgave Vince
know,
for
yeah,
that.
even
So
everything that went on with him and Vince and the screw job and all that stuff, he let that one go. And I was like, that to me, and again, like Brett was one of the star talking heads in this whole thing. Like his honesty, his brutal honesty, but even just his genuine honesty about that like I forgave Vince for this. And it was like, you know, even after everything that went down, it's like that really says something about one, the man, but two, the situation, you know, and like, and with all due respect, and again, I get where Martha Hart is coming from. I do not, you know, have any issue with what she's done, you know, the lawsuit and even to the point of keeping Owen out of the Hall of Fame. I get it. I get where her heart, you know, but she hold like you would figure of all people to hold a grudge, Brett would be the biggest one.
yeah,
She holds bigger grudges than Brett ever
I
has.
think too you have to. Brett is a wrestler, and I know his brother passed away, and and Vince was still the meal ticket, right? Was this after WCW?
He was in WCW, or
Yeah, he was
yeah,
in.
yeah, he was already in
There was this
WCW.
Yeah,
99. This was the like the very end of WCW
yeah.
'99.
He ends up coming back to the WWE after this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But I think at some point he probably maybe he realized I don't know. There was a lot to hate Vince for. Um, I guess this you can't blame Vince for this, especially if they've already ruled it out. It wasn't anything that the WWE. We keep saying Vince, but it's the WWE,
yeah,
and Vince can't have his fingers, even though he did in or on every little thing. Like things, other people are in charge of other things. So, um, but I think Brett also realized that this wrestling business, Vince was the king, right? So eventually that's how he makes his money. So he has got to go back at some point. So I guess it was,
fourth entertainer.
yeah, he's an artist.
Yeah,
yeah.
He's an artist. So
at
this was
least you
also,
didn't blame Goldberg on that.
this was also the same years where we had lots of deaths.
Yeah.
Um, they got rid of the chair. I believe this is they got rid of the chair shots after this because of Chris
That
Benoit.
was in the ruthless aggression.
Yeah, that came a little later. That came ruthless aggression,
All
but
right,
yeah,
well, Chris Benoit ended up killing his family.
yeah.
Um,
Well, we got to back up really quick because the thing that happened literally right before that was Vince getting into a limo that exploded.
Yeah,
oh yeah, he was going to kill the character off.
He was going to kill the character off,
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden, then of course, real life jumps in to create this whole, and then Benoit, the Benoit situation happened, and and like the question I've always had, and this is where it's like, what was the end game with this whole storyline? Like, what was Vince? Not taking anything away from the Benoit situation at all, but it was one of the more shocking things that I remember. I wasn't watching Raw that night, but I literally saw the clip like the moment after it happened. Like it was on YouTube, it was on everywhere, and it was just like, oh my gosh, like what like, and then to know it's like, did he really just die? Was this? I mean, like, it's a storyline, but at the same time, it's like that thing exploded. That was a pretty damn good cut. Like, what? But where are they going with this? I don't know. It was,
Yeah.
and then, like I said, for real life to creep in, and the Benoit situation, and they, Vince comes back the next week and it's like, I'm not really dead, but we did have this tragedy.
I'm not really dead, guys.
Yeah, I'm not really dead, but we had this tragedy, and to go ahead with the tribute show before they knew all the information about what had really happened. Like with Eddie dying, they knew immediately. I mean, almost immediately. Hey, he's in his hotel room. It wasn't an OD. He just keeled over dead. They kind of figured. I mean, they kind of knew that was what had happened. But the Benoit situation, they didn't really know what was going on. But they had this tribute show, and then during the tribute show, everything starts coming out about what went on with Benoit and the suicide, the murder, suicide, and everything. So yeah, again, it's one of those other controversial moments, and it's like,
But we had a lot of deaths during this Attitude Era too. So we had Benoit, we had Eddie, right? And
yep.
you can say Eddie died of natural causes. He didn't die of natural causes.
No.
The guy
drugs.
The guy had addiction issues.
It was all the years of drug use that ended up killing him. Like, it was using when he died, but it was the culmination of all the use that had happened previously.
Now he was clean. He's supposedly clean at the time, right? He was getting his life back together, and he was back with Vicky and whatnot. But we had test
damage was already done though.
Yes, yeah.
Crash
Holly, and you know what? That's one thing I didn't know. I didn't know Crash Holly passed away.
Really?
Didn't know.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. And what did he pass away from?
I forget.
Drugs, I thought.
It was drugs, but it
drug related.
It was a complication with a drug issue. That was what I remember hearing at the time.
Gotcha. Who else passed away during this time?
I mean,
Perfect.
Mr.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Perfect. And Ray Trailer passed
away.
Bulldog passed away right around that time.
Yeah. So there was a lot of deaths, and they were linking the WWE to the deaths between the steroids and the drugs, and the CTE was a big thing. They were talking about. I mean, I know it came later, but they took away the chair shots. Pissed off a lot of wrestlers, Undertaker being one of them.
Yeah.
This is what got me. Was Stone Cold said CTE is not real.
Yeah.
With all the studies between football and all these hockey,
that's it. Football, hockey. I don't know how soccer equates to it because they fall down if they slide a little bit.
So headers in soccer. When you do headers, believe it or not, the ball is not. If I threw the ball up and headed it, no problem. If someone boots the ball and I head it, the ball is moving at a high rate of speed. It's still a ball. It's still something that's striking your head. So
true.
Probably don't have as much CTE issues in soccer as you have in some of these other sports. I mean, it's not like taking a chair shot for sure, but doing constant headers, you try to teach. Of course, I was a soccer coach for years, so you try to teach kids the proper way of striking the ball with your head. But still, you're still and actually we never taught heading. I never taught heading until we got into, they were like 15, 16 in that area. And we got into it then. Nothing ever at young ages because their mind is still developing. But yeah, still striking anything with your head will eventually could cause CTE. And I mean, it's not everybody. I mean, there's people out there that they could take shots and never get concussions. And there's people out there that like Tua Tagovailoa that, he just the smallest little shot to the head sends him into convulsions. Like, I mean, everybody's different when it comes to CTE. So, but yeah, so Stone Cold says CTE is not real. Clearly, if you got CTE, you were doing something wrong because you weren't trained right.
Yeah.
Did you see that power bomb that Sami Zayn took on Monday Night Raw
from Gunther?
Do you think that Sami Zayn was not trained how to tuck his chin, and that the mere force of that power bomb There's no way you can't keep you don't have, your neck muscles aren't strong enough to keep your head from flopping back like a Pez dispenser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, but that's it for the attitude section. Um, did I miss anything?
I mean, overall, because what did they show? They showed or was that the next one? No, they showed no, that was the next episode because that was Vince and Shane and that whole deal with the family
That
feud.
family business was
Family
the
business is the next one, and we'll get right into it. So, episode number 5, family business. There was a lot of fail during family business, not only just with your family, the issues with the family, outside organizations. Vince started the XFL. Um, uh, One of the highest rated shows ever was that first night of XFL. And actually, we've seen it since XFL has come back. When it came back, the first week was really good. Whatever the Washington Renegades or Washington, whatever they called, really good ratings. And then after that, and it's the same brand of football now as it was then. It was terrible football. So,
yeah,
XFL.
it's cut NFL players basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically that's what it is. So, um, and again, we talked about this last time. XFL brought some. There's some guys in the XFL that ended up coming back to or
Yeah.
coming to the NFL. One of them ended up playing for the Green Bay Packers. So, so XFL fails. WWE buys WCW.
Yeah.
Buys WCW. There was management turnover at the top of Turner, and they did not see WCW as being worth having anymore. It wasn't a profitable business, and they came to Vince, and he said, "Oh, all right, pal, I'll buy it from you." So he ends up taking over and buying WCW. Um, and I think I kind of remember this because it was a WCW night show. I believe it was Monday night show or whatever it was. I think it was Monday. Were they on Monday?
Yeah. It was a Monday.
Yeah, it was in
Because it ran
Florida.
opposite. Yeah. So, and all of a sudden, Vince comes on the screen,
Yeah.
and
He's
he does his little statement or whatever, and he basically says he just bought WCW. So,
well, and then right after that, they didn't show this, which I was kind of surprised by, but they didn't show the part where Shane comes out and says, the name on the contract, like there is a name on that contract, and that name
It says McMahon.
but it says Shane McMahon.
yeah.
Which I kind of was like, I thought they would do that because considering what they talked about later with the family ties and the family, not family feuding, but the family.
I think this was a way to shut Shane up.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I
makes
think this was
sense.
a way to shut Shane up. We'll just say you bought.
Yeah.
WCW, pal. So WCW is bought. WCW for 83 weeks was kicking the ass of WWE in the ratings for 83 weeks. 83 weeks. 83 weeks. If I hear that one more time, I'm gonna throw. But so at this point, WWE goes public.
Yeah.
They're on the New York Stock Exchange. I was weird seeing. I saw that picture again, the video again. I saw it a long time ago. It was Stone Cold and Triple H and The Undertaker and I forget who else was there.
Rock.
Standing, The Rock standing, getting ready to ring the gavel or ring the bell.
Yeah.
it's,
Stock exchange.
it's weird. So WWE goes public. The business hits a downfall or hits a decline after Steve Austin packs his bags and heads home.
And The
Again,
Rock went to Hollywood.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Austin. It was the fact that now there's no more competition. He's bought WCW, and of course they do the crappy invasion angle, and a lot of the big stars that everybody was looking to see, the Stings and the Steiners and the Goldbergs, weren't there because they were sitting home. Just in case anybody's wondering why you never saw them, Turner had there was WCW money, and then there was Turner money. And a lot of the contracts that were being paid out to guys like Sting and Steiner, Goldberg, were Turner money, so it had nothing to do with what WCW was doing or the fact that they got bought out. So
Well, I think the Steiners went to New Japan, didn't they? I think Sting sat home, but I thought that the Steiners went to New Japan. Maybe not. Maybe I'm
not I
confused.
was aware of, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah,
But the
I know we didn't see Sting for years because he was just
just
staying at home.
Well, he ended up going to TNA as well.
Yeah,
yeah,
later on.
hey, but that wasn't until what 05, 06?
That was before Seth Rollins nearly killed him.
Well, yeah,
That was way before that. Yeah, yeah.
long before that.
Yeah, he was 14 different iterations of Sting before he ended up back over at or in the WWE.
Yeah, no, that's what leads into though the fact that there was no competition. So now Vince is sitting there like, well, what do we do now? And he kind of comes up with this whole what they now that what the English not wanting to work right now. What they now term as the ruthless aggression era.
Ruthless aggression.
Because Vince comes out in a promo with all the wrestlers singing around the ring on Raw and says that line, and then the very famous, to me, my all-time favorite promo that Kurt Angle did. He calls out, hey, who on the back out there wants to challenge me? And Cena comes out and is like, what do you got that makes you think you challenge the best in the world? Ruthless aggression. Boom! Right across Kurt's face, man. Like that to me. Again, like that just set Cena off as a star, and that also ushered in.
Well, was that before? Was that after
no,
that
no.
he was on the bus
on-
rapping?
No,
That was before.
That was before.
That was way before.
That was way before.
He even said, and I didn't know this. He even said that
Said
he
he
thought
was
he was
going to
going to
get
be
fired.
fired. Yeah,
And
And
he
he was-
started rapping on the bus, and Stephanie was on there and heard him.
yeah.
Yep.
So they changed his whole gimmick to Thugonomics or whatever. And,
Yep.
yeah.
Economics.
And
That was the only John Cena I liked.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cena was born, right? Now we get bald head Cena. Or bald
We got Ernest P. Worrell Cena.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Cena was born, and that was the big part. WWE for years had all these different characters, and then they were gone.
Yeah.
And they were gone. So you had characters. You had characters. You had your Gold Dust and people like that, but you didn't have who was going to stand out, and you need that
You
leader.
have your face of the company.
Yeah, you needed your Rock, you needed your Stone Cold, you needed your Hulk Hogan, you needed your Undertaker. So Cena was that guy. Cena was the guy who took this company, I mean, to the next level, really. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, he took it to the next level. So
you also had debuts. They showed, I think, a round robin clip, if I remember right, of a lot of the younger talent that was starting to debut. You had the Ortons, Lesnar's, the Batistas and stuff like that were gonna be that next generation, that next era of superstar. That and it was like, okay, this is what the new era looks like. The ruthless aggression era, but it didn't come without a lot of Vince's weirdness. And that's when I think, if I remember right, that's when they talked about the affair that he was having with Trish. And then the subsequent street fight that he had to have with Shane at WrestleMania 17, if I remember correctly.
well, let's not get too far ahead. So the women's division at this time too was starting to flourish.
It was the Divas era.
The Divas, then you had all the, and I don't even remember all the Divas because honestly, I think at this point I wasn't even watching, but they had the story with Vince and Trish, where Trish was his love interest or whatever in front of Linda's face.
She was
Linda
sedated.
Why she was sedated. And this, to me, this was very telling in a lot of ways. I think Vince, and I'm going to ask you guys, you tell me, because I'm very confused about Linda McMahon.
Yeah.
I'm probably more confused about anything in this whole documentary about Linda McMahon. I don't understand their story. I don't know what was going on. Are they together? Are they not together? was it kind of like a Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton thing? Was it a convenience thing? I'm confused because there was a lot of stuff going on in front of Linda, in front of Linda.
Yeah,
Does that
literally.
make sense? Like the whole the storyline Tristan was in front of
He's
Linda.
making out with her.
Yeah,
Like
and
literally
some of
5
it
feet in front of her.
Linda was offering ideas, like the kiss me on the forehead or whatever, blah blah blah. So Linda was very much a part of this, but as a relationship with Vince and Linda, they were married, correct?
Yeah,
They're still
They
married.
still are. Yeah.
What the fuck is going on here? I have no idea why are they is she, all these different affairs over the years. We never heard anything from Linda. Was she being shit on in the dark that we don't know about? I mean,
I'm wondering. Well, she's got the other half of Vince's hush money.
is that what it is? Yeah, she's praying for him to die.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you this. Seeing her on this documentary,
She looks like she could give two shits about anything, really.
I think she's got her own agenda. Now, of course, she's on Trump's cabinet, or she's part of the Small Business Bureau, whatever. Trump gave her a spot in the cabinet. There's a lot of spots in his cabinet. The dynamic between those two is it's got me, and I would
Yeah.
love to know. I would love to hear Linda's side
Yeah.
of this whole thing because of all the scandals, all the, the Rita Chattertons and all the different allegations with the girl from the tanning salon and like the different
Sable.
Sable, like the sexual thing with Sable, and we'll get to that here in a second, but like there is a whole nother spin of this that I need to know. I need to know what is going on. Linda, listen, Linda, please tell her.
We'll get you a window on Hardway.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you the link immediately. By the way, Linda looked really good. She's 70. What would you 70? 72 years old. She looked really good in this.
She looked better now than when she was on TV in the Attitude Era.
She looked thicker.
Yeah.
Like she looked like I don't know what it is. She looked like Skeletor.
Yeah.
All the years of the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era. But and she's one of those that didn't want to be on TV, but she ended up being a character. So, but I need to know. I need to know about Linda. I need to know that dynamic, or she was just turned a blind eye because they were rich. I don't know.
I mean, that has to be it.
Do what you want, Vince.
Well,
I want to know if she was having affairs with people.
Hush money. Yep.
Yeah. See, I want to know if she was like, well, if we sign you, Brock, I'm going to give you a piece of Linda. I want to know if he liked what he saw there. I just, that whole dynamic there.
Maybe Triple H got a piece of Mama McMahon.
Hey, maybe he's working his way. Then we have the Sable.
Hold on one sec.
Go ahead.
Really the thing. One biggest thing. I don't know if either of you know this, but even though they are still married, there's been no declaration of a separation or anything. They live in two completely different worlds, literally.
Yes.
They're still in Connecticut, and she lives in Florida. So you have there is,
and the fact that he's still sexually, when he admits that he's still sexually active. I got a thirst for sex.
Yeah.
And she's not even around. It's just.
God. I nearly spit my drink out of my mouth when I was at work and I watched that on my lunch break.
Was it? I wonder if okay, it was at the end of this episode. They talked about the 3 robots or whatever. I think. And what is the third robot saying? Oh, sex. Like, oh Jesus, Vince. Oh, great. Anyway, so we had the Sable lawsuit. She was saying that she was sexually not abused, but people made
harassed.
Yeah, harassed. Thank you. They ended up settling this lawsuit, I believe, or it was dropped.
Yeah, and then she came back.
She came back.
She was back
in the same damn storyline.
And the fact that they referenced it, they put that promo up that Stephanie cut on Vince about she sued us in this, and like they're actually even referencing it at that point, which was insane.
If you could go back and look at any promo that Stephanie cut, where it was emotional promo, there was something behind every one.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Every promo from the basically you pimp me out. I mean, there was something there. God, Vince, quadbillionaire, buddy. You would write
yeah.
the book.
Well, and the other thing is, I mean, Stephanie wouldn't admit to it, but it's something that I've heard circulating around for a long time, and Vince even confirmed the rumor that during those, like, it would have been an interesting promo if she had cut it. The whole deal of Vince saying there was a storyline that he wanted to write where Stephanie gets pregnant and he's the one that gets her pregnant.
He said, well, it's funny. He goes, well, there was a story. Yeah, there was, I don't remember the details, but there was someone that said that I was going to get pregnant. I was like, Vince, you fucking dog. I mean,
sick,
Jesus.
sick SOB.
Like, and again, this is where, like, it's funny because again, Vince says he doesn't want people to know the real him, and he only shows you. Triple H
Where
said
he failed on keeping that from everybody.
Think about it. The abusive mother part of his early life.
Yeah, exactly.
Had to have played into him wanting to create that storyline.
Yeah. So.
Oh shit. Okay, so Shane comes to Vince and says he wants to buy the UFC, and Vince basically said, I don't know nothing about UFC. We tell stories here with it's scripted fighting. I don't know nothing about dudes actually punching themselves in the face. So, and it's Shane is upset over this. Shane thinks there's an opportunity there, and he wants to buy UFC. And then Vince says, "Well, if you want to buy it, use your own money." And then he basically goes, "Well, I told him he could buy it if he wants with his own money, but I know Shane doesn't have that much money." He's basically, I mean,
well, and so, honestly, now when was Shane and Marissa married? I can't remember.
This was way back.
Yeah.
Have technically gotten that money from her side of the family because they got the friggin' the vegetable oil business or whatever it is. They got billions of dollars, so he could have gotten the money elsewhere if he really wanted to do it. But the thing that, and I'm assuming, and I think it happened a little later on in this episode, but I'm assuming this is the same issue. Well, no, Heyman might not have been around for that. I don't know. But the story is telling nonetheless that Paul Heyman tells about Vince and Shane having an argument over something, and Shane's not giving up on it, and Vince like hands him a knife and is like, right here. Like, if you want to do this so bad, you put the knife right here, and you walk over my dead body to do it. And if you can't put the knife right here, that tells me what kind of man you are, and means because he's like, I would have done the same thing to my father had he gotten in my way. So if you can't do it to me, that tells me what kind of man you are, and I have to take that into consideration. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, what? I mean, that's a completely Vince thing to say, in my view. But I'm looking at like, no wonder Shane left. No one, like, I'm sorry, but like, when your own father is telling you have to kill me to get this deal done because I will not let you do it any other way. It's like, what? Like, that's another dynamic. The Linda dynamic is one they didn't explore enough. And to me, I want to know more about the Shane dynamic. That Shane dynamic really had me like, because I felt for the kid. I really feel for Shane a lot because Shane.
This documentary made Shane look like
God. Like,
yeah.
He was technically the heir apparent. There's a story that goes around. One of the early Hall of Fame ceremonies, Lou Thez is there, and Lou Thez says to Shane, like, I worked for your worked for your grandfather, I worked for your father, and I look forward to one day working for you. And this was like years before Shane even he was in the business, but he wasn't even anywhere near where he is now in it. But it's where one of those things where Shane was the heir apparent, and he got passed over, and all the time he got passed over, his dad is treating him like absolute garbage. He won't listen to him, won't do anything. He sides with his daughter. He sides with Stephanie, who, from all accounts and all intents and purposes, is almost a clone of Vince. I mean, Stephanie's almost as ruthless as Vince is. So, but at the same time, like he passes over Shane. He treats Shane like garbage. Shane leaves, and it's, my God, like, what did that kid have to go through growing up to be in that household and deal with a father like that? That was the thing one of the things that got to me was watching the Shane stuff.
And Tony Atlas, I think it was Tony Atlas had said that, everybody likes Shane.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody likes Shane. But Stephanie is the clone of Shane, or clone of Vince. And the tough part about everybody liking Shane is that's not a good person to run the business, because soon as wrestlers, and this is absolutely the truth.
Yeah.
Soon as you have a nice guy, right, that's running the business, you try to take advantage of him. That's exactly what happened. You take liberties with the nice guy, and that's why Vince didn't think Shane was ever going to be the head of WWE. That's why Stephanie, basically he was overlooked, and Stephanie had more of a role than Shane did. Also, Stephanie in this episode, there was a lot about Stephanie too. Part of it was her being a clone of Vince, and her being as ruthless, but her on-screen character, which was, Vince loved this. They were chant slut.
Yeah.
They were chanting her being a slut. They had basically, her character, she slept her way to the top. She was sleeping with Tess. She eventually sleeping with Triple H, whether it was medicated or not. I mean, there was a lot of Stephanie here.
And the thing also that, and I've heard this before, going back to the Test thing really quick, that was, they said, and I think even Triple H said, the writers didn't have a way out of that. And Triple H had to kind of come up with the idea of, why don't I drug her and take her to a wedding chapel and marry her? I'm like, for a guy, especially in that time period, because that was late 90s. Because I picked up wrestling right around the time that, I had watched it in the early 90s, right before they took it off of network television. And then SmackDown came on UPN on syndicate or on regular television, so I was able to watch it again. And like, for the fact that a guy like Vince, and that's just, again, it's a small thing, but it's telling that Vince didn't have a way out of that. He had this whole storyline going, and Vince was so careful to have story. I know where I'm going to go with this, pal. We know where this is ending, and they didn't have a way out of that.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't care if he says that or not. There were so many things that they threw shit against the wall that didn't stick. They just moved on to the next thing because they didn't have anything for it, right? I mean, that was a lot of WWE recently too. Not within the last 2 or 3 years, or 2 years at least. But it's always, you're like, okay, what happened with that? Well, why are we not doing this anymore? Why do we just move on? And there's some other promoters that are the same way. They just, there's no there's no real storytelling there. There's no beginning, and there's no middle, there's no end. Sometimes they just do things and they're like, well, we'll see where it goes with here, and that's fine sometimes. And sometimes you have an ending and something swerves it, bro, and then you end up you end up in another direction, just like they did for WrestleMania this year. That kind of stuff happens too. But yeah, I believe that he was like, well, we'll just pimp her out. We'll see where we go from here. But anyway, so that was the end of Family Business. Did I miss anything there? I think I got everything there. Yeah, I think I got everything. So, all right, we're going to move on to the last and final episode of this documentary, The Finish. So Shane's gone from the company. So Shane ends up coming back. He goes on a sabbatical. He goes and does his own thing. I think Vince called him and said, hey, I got an idea for you. And he comes back. And was that the angle with that? Was that with Kurt? Or was
No,
that
no,
wasn't
no.
with
That was
Kurt?
the Undertaker. The Hell in a Cell at Mania
Yes.
38, I believe.
Ooh, was it 38?
36. I can't.
It was the mid 30s, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Shane comes back, has this match with the Undertaker, epic match. We get all the spots that we get from Shane, the coast to coast.
He's a great worker.
He
Yeah.
really is a good. He really is a good worker.
All the shit he did and the bumps he took over the years.
Yes.
I mean, he put on some really good matches.
Because they talked about it at that point as well. That's why you were getting confused, because they backtracked to King of the Ring.
Yes.
2000. I think it was King of the, I think it was King of the Ring 2000 when him and Kurt had that incredible.
Yes.
Yeah, Angle couldn't throw him through the glass window.
Wouldn't break. And he just kept dropping him on his coconut. The CTE is not real, so no big deal.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he's goading Kurt. He's like, dude, like,
do it again, you pussy.
Gold medalist, you pussy. Yeah.
Dude, like, you can't throw me through a plate glass window. Like, and I'm sure like Kurt's like pissed off, but at the same time he's like, dude, if I kill this kid, like what happens now? Like, he's
the show must go on, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if it was Shane, it'd been okay. Yeah,
we're gonna continue.
No big deal. So Shane comes back. They have this epic match. They get to the back, and this is where Shane and Vince embrace. And I think he tells Shane he loves him and he's proud of him at this point. This was a big
tearing up a little bit too.
This got me too. This really got me too, because you come to a certain point in your life, you have problems, and of course I've had problems with both of my boys on and off at times, and it's when it finally comes back around and you finally mend fences, however you get there, right? You might argue all the time, and then there's something like this, and in their world, McMahon's world, wrestling ties everything together. And this brought those two together, and this was what Shane wanted. This is what Shane needed. He even said that. He said he's been looking for this all of his life, and he finally gets it here from Vince. The accolades he finally got from Vince was, and it's something that Vince still to this day, and I don't know if he's lying or he's not lying, that on his dad's deathbed told him he loved him and he was proud of him. So for Vince to go ahead and do this before he dies, I don't know if he's ever said it again since then, but I thought this was a pretty good touching part of the episode.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the other thing that got me, I mean, it was very touching, but the thing that also got me is that while this is one occasion and one time, and I'm sure Shane will hold that in his heart forever, there's still considering everything that Vince put Shane through and a lot of the arguments they must have had, there's still that need and that knack to prove something to his dad. Like no matter how many times your parent tells you they love you, you in the back of your mind you still, I still gotta I gotta prove what I'm worth and what I am to these people, because they raised me, they tried to teach me right from there's still something that a child has to prove to a parent, no matter how many times they hear that they're loved, and that so it's one of those things, like I look at Shane and like, I mean, because it progresses even to today, the fact that all these rumor mills of Shane coming back to wrestling, Shane going to AEW, and of course with the way things are going with his dad, he really can't go back to WWE because the name McMahon really they don't really want to have that on their television right now. So, but if Shane were to go back into wrestling and go to AEW and stuff like that, again, it's because he's got to prove something, no matter what it is, no matter how old he is, he still has to.
The business is in their veins.
Yeah.
Right. The business is in their veins. That's what they know. Right? It's what they know. So, I wrote scandal after scandal, and I only have one written down here. I can't remember what the other scandals were. I'm sure there was a billion of them. Um, but the Ashley Mazzaro rape scandal
Yes.
was the big one here,
Yeah.
where they were doing a U.S. tour, USO tour, and a doctor, not a real doctor, a fake doctor, raped Ashley Mazzaro. Now we don't know to what to extent. I don't know what extent that she was raped. Um, but she was raped. She went to WWE. They kind of just brushed it off. And then this girl ends up killing herself.
Yeah.
She ends up killing herself, and WWE made a statement, or Vince made a statement, said if they didn't knew about it, they didn't know. They said they didn't know about it.
I mean, how could they not, considering that she says she went right to Vince about it? That's been in her, that was in her statements all along. Her lawyer had that released um, after her death. And
All the times that Vince would make sexual passes at her and she turned him down, and
yeah,
then he basically like
wrote
wrote
storylines.
scripts to basically bury her character.
Yeah, and the one that got me in particular, this made me more mad than anything, because I detest uh, physical abuse on women. There's no place for it. And anyway, this where she accidentally spilled coffee on him, and he turned around and he's in her face screaming, and
Yeah.
we see Vince. We see Vince. There are
Yeah.
times over the years and during this documentary, the interview with, was it Costas? He did the interview with
Yeah.
Bob
Yeah.
Costas.
Yes.
Where he's leans forward and he smacks the papers out of their hand, and he's like, "Oh, grab me a river." Rah, rah, rah." Basically, I think he just stole that
Scapegoat.
from Scapegoat. So, um, but he did the same thing to her, where he threw his papers at her, and he physically was imposing himself on her. It made me want to throw up. Um, and this, she ends up killing herself over the whole situation, really. So, um,
Depression.
yeah, I'm sure this was, it's her job, right? She's at her job. She probably doesn't think she has anywhere else to go. She did not have anywhere else to go. Where could she have gone?
Yeah.
Indies that weren't
That many back then.
back to $20 on a hot dog.
That kind of reminded me of when they were talking to Tony Atlas about the whole ring boy situation. How Pat Patterson, he said Pat Patterson used to grab my pecker.
Yeah.
Who was going to tell Vince?
Yeah,
He wasn't going to do nothing. That's his boy.
that's his boy.
Yeah, so same situation, pretty
He
much.
kept grabbing my pecker. Thank God he created the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
So anyway, I did write scandal after scandal. Were there any other scandals that I missed towards the end of this?
It was mostly the hush money payments, and then the Mazzaro thing came up again during that, because she killed herself several years back, but that came up again during the hush money payments. And then the biggest thing was the Janelle Grant lawsuit after that really just is what set the whole world on fire about
Right.
Vince and
Caused Vince to step away,
yeah.
caused him to sell his stocks, caused him to come
Well, he
back
stepped away.
in.
So when this first came down, he stepped away. He said that, and then he ends up coming back to help sell WWE, get the sale going. He said that he came back because he was told by a close person in his life that he should step away. He took bad advice, he said. So
And see,
pretty
from
sure
what
it was Stephanie McMahon.
That's
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
told him to step away,
And then she left.
Yep.
Then she left. She resigned again. She resigned. And then Vince came to see the oversee the sale of WWE, and then this whole thing ramped up even more. The more allegations came out, and then he ends up retiring from WWE, or told,
Yeah.
you got to go, bro. I think they signed both times. When he came back the second time, they gave him a different type of contract. but he also got rid of board members, right? He got rid of board
Yeah.
members so he could get the votes he needed to for the sale and whatnot.
And then TKO had 51% to his 49, so he
Right.
basically had no control anymore.
Right. Or very, I wouldn't say no control, but very little.
He didn't have enough.
Right. So they told him basically, hey, sell your shit and you're out. Right. You're out. So, and more to come. More to come on the Janelle Grant stuff, and now it's being held up right now because they're still doing more investigational stuff. So, I think they wanted to see what came of this documentary. I think there's other. I still have it in my mind that he's linked to Puff Daddy somehow. I swear he is. We're going to get more stuff to come with this Janelle Grant thing. So there's some criminal stuff coming down the line.
And they mentioned the whole Brock Lesnar part of this with his contract.
And see, that's one person, other than for like one or two quick shots, nothing was mentioned of Lesnar. And that was, another person that's like, what was his relationship to Vince? Nobody really knows, because like when Vince quit the first time, who was the first person to walk out and say, fuck it, if he ain't here, I'm not here?
Brock.
Yeah.
So, that was kind of that was something else that kind of bothered me, is like, he's one of the biggest, like, he's not the biggest stars, but he is one of the biggest stars to have come out of the Ruthless Aggression era. He's one of the, and he's survived as long as he had, even with the part-time deal.
Top three.
Yeah.
Top three.
He'll put butts in seats.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
I prefer Cowboy Brock.
Yeah.
Cowboy Brock or the Brock Party.
I love the Brock Party too. Missed out on that box. God darn it.
But
how'd you bring
that was the thing. But the thing also that got me was, we knew, because they even said it at the beginning, all these interviews were conducted before the lawsuit ever came to light. But it still was interesting when they went into the lawsuit and the scandal part of it. They, again, it flashed up on the screen, the first allegations had just dropped. They had already scheduled Vince's last sit down with them, and he canceled. So that was something else. Again, we knew it was coming. We knew that was what had happened, but at the same time, again, as a finality to say, okay, this is the last thing you'll ever hear Vince McMahon say on, because he's stopped talking. He's not talking to anybody now other than his lawyers. So yeah, it's just like, okay. And really all the interviews except for, and that was something else, the Bruce Pritchard part of it. Where we get to, towards the end of it, and they're like, they re-sit down with Bruce Pritchard and Meltzer. And the Bruce Pritchard part is like, well, what'd you think? I hated it. Why? You weren't fair to Vince. You didn't. I'm like, how did they not treat him with any? I mean, again, like the cut I'm seeing, again, they showed it's not like this stuff wasn't readily available. A lot of the stuff that he did on network television is in the WWE archive. You can pull it up easily, access it easily. You can see what kind of a pervert Vince was. So.
Well, I think they tried. I think they really tried to show certain aspects of Vince that were good, right? I think they tried, but every time they tried, they would cut to something else that Vince said or did, or a storyline, or
major story.
Something that Tony Atlas had to say, or I mean, I would like to have seen a little bit more of that, but I don't think that was the angle they were trying to take. I don't think they were trying to make Vince look like a saint here. I mean, I know it's great. Bruce tells a story where, they gave his wife 4 years to live. She has cancer. She has 4 years to live on at best 4 years to live. And Vince made sure that she got the biggest or the best care. And 24 years later, She's still
And
around?
that right there kind of makes me wonder how much Bruce Pritchard is underneath of Vince with all these allegations and all this secretive stuff. Like he's probably a vault of information, and Vince will hold that against Bruce.
Have you ever listened to Bruce used to have a podcast. It was Bruce and what's his name? The guy that used to do the podcast with Ric Flair.
I can see his face. I can't think of his name.
Big
I know.
fat dude.
Yeah.
What is his name? Oh,
Nasally voice I can't stand.
yeah. Anyway, there were a lot of great stories. If you get a chance to listen to that podcast, I don't know if he's still running it or not, but it was excellent. It was
Yeah.
excellent. Bruce had a lot of stories. He talked about him being fired and whatnot over the years. So,
But
what is his name? It starts with a C.
Conrad Thompson.
Conrad Thompson. Thank you. Yes. Conrad. So,
but the other thing about
big toy guy, by the way, big toy guy. Hell of an LJN collection.
Yes, he does. It's about the only redeeming quality about
That's Flair's son-in-law, isn't it?
What's that?
I thought Conrad Thompson was
That's
Flair's.
Rick's son-in-law. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rick. He married one of Rick's daughters.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting. But the thing with Pritchard, though, and again, I don't know if he got this from Vince or if this is just, who Bruce really is as a person. Cornette calls him the Artful Dodger. The guy can never the truth. He knows how to dodge around everything and kind of he'll tell half truths or part of a story that's correct, but completely missing out on everything. So
He gets it honest.
Yeah.
He gets it honest. He learned from the best.
Yeah. So
he learned from the best.
I mean, it's one of those things. It's like that's why like I like his stories, but it's like I don't know if I can trust his stories because you're just sitting there. You're like, wonder if that really happened, or if Bruce is just kind of, because he's not as bad as Hogan. He doesn't tell completely blatant lies, but he does have that way of working around the truth that does, so you don't know what is real and what's the shoot and what's the work. So,
right.
But.
Well, boys, more to come. I mean, hopefully we're going to get, I would love to get another 5 episodes.
And like I said before,
like they did with the Tiger King, the Tiger King was done and then they came back with like 2 more episodes or 3. I'm all about it. I mean, let's follow this thing to the end.
And
I think you're waiting for more of this Janelle Grant stuff to come out.
It's coming.
Once that's out and it's all the details are finalized. And whatever happens to Vince after that, then I think it'll.
So I have an idea that, I think it's going to part of this. It's going to be part of this election. It depends on who gets voted in. It's very possible. Think about it. It's very possible.
Oh.
Do you think Trump would pardon him?
I mean,
that's a good point.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's a reason why this trial is being held up, and I've been thinking about different things forever, right? And, the P Diddy thing, the P Diddy and the lube thing really gets me.
I'm sure
I mean, if you look at some of the stuff that P Diddy's being accused of, and you look at some of the stuff that Vince is being accused of, they're not. I mean, one's white, one's black. I mean. They might be the same dude, right? They might be the same guy. Who knows? And then, then I was thinking about,
hey, Diddy, you got to try this sometime. You squat like this, you get better leverage.
Squatty Potty. Her name is Potty. And then this, thinking about this election coming up, and if Trump will get in, if Vince gets indicted, or he'll have to go through the, however long the trial goes for. And then in the 12th hour, right as Vince gets whatever jail time, they say you're going to spend the rest of your life in jail, which is probably only going to be a couple years. Trump pardons him. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's been going on. If you really think about it, it's very possible. What do presidents like to do at the end of their term?
Oh yeah, they pardon people.
They love to pardon people. That's like a thing. Like on their way out, they love to pardon people. And can you imagine? So anyway, let's hope. I don't know. Mark this episode right now. Remember this statement. When maybe Hardway's not around in 4 years. Who fucking knows? And maybe he's not around tomorrow. Who knows? But remark this episode with special episode part 3 of the Mr. McMahon. Jason's right, his victory lap. So,
But
anyway,
I was just gonna say the whole, as I said before, like you guys, like they could do, like I said, they could make it like Dateline Vince McMahon and do an episode for an entire year, 365 days, and you will never get to the bottom of it. Like there's so much there about Vince in one form or another, in childhood to adulthood to WWE to the affairs to his, to being an old, perverted old geezer. Like there's so much he's got that, if any of the real story ever does come out, if they can get through, if stuff like the Janelle Grant stuff comes out more, if it's not a closed door trial and this information becomes available to the public, like they can do another 10, 15, 20 episodes and they'll still never hit it all.
And this will be the one I sit and watch at home on TV.
If
If
Vince ever writes a book, I'm telling you, like I said, that would be money.
We're gonna read it word for word.
I would get it. Hopefully, the print's bigger than Brian Hardy's book.
It's got to be, right. It's got the font's got to be better. So,
I would get it and hope there's a opportunity to meet Vince. I'm gonna have him shit on it.
God damn it, Vince. Anyway, that's going to do it here for Hardway Wrestling part 2 of the Mr. McMahon documentary on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, go catch it. Right, it's really good.
It is.
It's got a lot of stuff you're going to know. It's going to have a lot of stuff you don't know. Again, we talked about this. Scotty talked about it on the last episode, that this is not for the normal fan, but I think it is. I think there's certain parts of this that you're going to be intrigued with and wonder. Now, if you think you're going to see McMahon taking a doo-doo on somebody, you're not going to see it. It's not going to be in this episode.
That's OnlyFans.
That's his OnlyFans. So anyway, that's going to do it here. Boys, thank you so much. Make sure you go like, subscribe, ring that bell. We're on our way to 1,000. We're only like 6 away, 7 away, something like that. We're not too far away. Also, go to iTunes, go to Spotify, give us a 5-star review.
Yes.
I'd like to hear what you guys think, right? We put a lot of effort in over here. We don't get paid, right? We're working on the paid part.
Patreon.
We'll get that in a second. But
Patreon.
We get paid by you telling us what we can do better. Not that we're going to listen, but what we can do better. And how you think this show is. We need all that stuff. So also, if you love, so we nope, Scotty's gone.
Yes. Get the ice pack.
His phone said no. No, there he is. If you like what we do, come support us at Patreon. It's $5 a month, the best $5 you can buy. We put articles out all the time. No, can't hear you. Sorry, Scotty, can't hear you. We put articles out all the time. Nope, I can't hear you. So we put articles out all the time. I subscribe to other paid sites, and I pay the money, so you don't have to. So, but in turn, instead of you spending $15-$20 on different articles, different websites, come spend $5 with us. There we go. That's where we are with the Patreon. So come support us on Patreon. Also, we have a fantasy wrestling league that runs. It's 2 months long. It's $5 a month. You get all access to all that too. It's fun. We talk shit to each other. We're going to be crowning a champion here at the end of October. Most likely me, because I'm very good at this. And Scotty has the money in the bank. Scotty in the bank. Scotty in the bank. So
it's a ham sandwich.
Ricky is mad. Ricky's like, no, bro, I'm right behind you. And that's where you're going to stay. That's
the only thing Scotty's got in a briefcase is a ham sandwich.
Him and Otis. So anyway, thank you, boys, so much.
Yes, Cedric, home run. God damn it, we're on the board.
So we're watching. We got some playoff baseball to watch. So, all right, boys. We'll see you guys next time.
On the hard way.
Well, that ending fell flatter than a plate full of piss.
Conan.
Don't